Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Grumpy Snail podcast with your host, me, the uncancelable Jonathan Snyder here. So, speaking of you, I've changed the drink up a bit today. It's not my usual old fashioned. I mean, you can't quite tell because it's kind of mixed a bit now, but it's got a little bit of rum in it. I call it a pineapple sunset is what I call it. But yes, Austin, I did take the last 3 bottles of pineapple soda out of the machine. So okay, you'll notice that things are a bit of a mess today. I got a package today that I wasn't supposed to get till Monday. So I mean, I tore into it and started playing around with it, and it's kind of put me behind, and now I'm not ready for I'm not ready for the podcast. You can see stuff sprawled all over the table over there. So what came today was one of the things that came today was this light kit, which is cool because I've never had professional lighting for any of the video projects that I've done. I've always used cheap can lights you can get at Lowe's. I had a set of those that I got for a very, very discounted price. They're like little can work lights, and I've always used those because I mean a lot of people low budget use stuff like that, but I thought I would get some professional lighting, and so now I do have professional lighting. One thing, this is not my functional lighting setup. This is just my, hey, I want to see what this looks like, and so I set it up. A lot of video people know that you have different color temperatures, and obviously this is a daylight temperature, like a 5,000-ish K color light, whereas these incandescent bulbs are, down in that 2,000 range where you get a nice orange warm light, and it's really gonna cause a problem with my cameras because the one camera has a automatic white balance that works one way, and the other camera has a white balance that works the other way. So one's going to look a lot oranger than the other one. And I mean, I could have adjusted that, but again, like I said, I've already spent so much time screwing around with the lights, and of course getting all my podcast stuff together and my notes, and so yeah, I'm just running and gunning and throwing it together. So yeah, that's what's happening. Hopefully, everything works out okay with my audio, or not audio, but video software. The last couple times that I've done my editing, I've noticed that the cameras don't quite sync up like they should. So we'll see. We'll see if it works. If it's not, I always get a video up. The podcast always happens. It's just sometimes, like always, it doesn't work out the way you want it. Okay, so yeah, I got all these lights. I also got some backdrops here. I got just the regular. I have a white one, a black one, and a green one. And I already had a green screen that I got before, but the pricing. When you price out your light kits, I mean, you almost get the green screen for free. It basically is how it is, because if you just price out a bunch of lights and then you find a kit that has a green screen with it, it's like the same price. Sometimes it's cheaper depending on when you're buying it and who you're buying it from. So yeah, I got some backdrops, which is cool because I don't have any backdrops beside my green screen, which I could use. I don't know why. I just never got around to using it. I fooled around with it a bit, and it's pretty cool to fool around with, but I just never got around to it. But yeah, so I have the backdrops. I also and with the light kit I got four different lights. So the I have two box lights that have the diffuser kit with it, and then I have two umbrella lights, and I also have they have different umbrellas. They have the white diffuser umbrellas, and then the reflective umbrellas, and then there's also some of those springable light bouncer things that were with the kit, and that's pretty cool. So all that came today, and I was just kind of going through it and seeing what all is in it, and just testing out, see where just how it looks. I thought it'd be a little bit brighter, but obviously with the diffuser on it, it's going to be not quite as bright. But it's just one light. There's two lights. There's four lights in the whole kit. So I just want to test it out and see how it looked. Hopefully, I could probably get it in. I could set one up somewhere in here and adjust the camera so it's not blowing out the shot like the wide shot is here. But yeah, that's the cool thing there. Also, this didn't come today, but it came this week. I have this tabletop camera dolly, which I actually wanted to use for actually the opening for the podcast. I wanted to use it for that, because I've got the cool sliding shot of the different bourbons and brandies and scotches and whatnot here in the back. So that would have been cool to have, but I got it now. So I have that for future podcasts now. I'm also working on a camera rig, which, because of the price, it's one thing you have to kind of work on and build. And since it's modular, I can do that, and I don't have to just save up a bunch of money and then buy it. I can buy it in parts, and then the more parts that I buy, then the better the rig itself gets. So that's cool. So I'm really making upgrades to my equipment here. if only I could make upgrades to the quality of my product, that'd be awesome. This you've probably already seen, one of these Gorilla Pods. I never had one of these, but I always wanted one because it allows you to mount your camera anywhere. So and I got a decently priced, like, quality one, not a cheap $20 one, but also not one of those expensive couple $100 ones. But it's good. It'll be good. It's pretty durable. So yeah, those are my camera upgrades. I have other upgrades that I'm not going to show at the moment, but I do. I have them for my other projects that I'm working on. Hopefully, another couple weeks. I have, I think, 2 or 3 more videos of footage from stuff that's back old stuff that I need to get out to get it out, and then the fun stuff starts, which I think half of it has been shot, and half of it hasn't been shot, and that's when that fun stuff starts. But then the plan for the spring is to start shooting the Judge 3. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the line. Okay. I'm not sure where I am on time. So I'm just winging it. Hopefully I'll get everything in a timely manner. There's a lot of stuff that happened the last 2 weeks. Right? So, we've got, I don't even know where I want to start. Let's start with the Time magazine article that came out, okay? The Time magazine article that came out that talked about the cabal that was used to manipulate the 2020 election. I can't believe this article came out in Time, because I can't believe, but I have to read that. and those of you that don't know about the Time article, you need to go read the Time article. I'm gonna read an excerpt from the Time article. Okay. So this was posted in Time. Okay, Time magazine. So it's this isn't your fake news nonsense. This was posted in Time. All right, here's the excerpt. Quote, democracy isn't self-executing. That's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told. Even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream, a well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. They were not rigging the election. They were fortifying it. And that's your talking points for any time you bring this up. They're like, they wasn't rigging the election, they were fortifying it. They were fortifying it. And they believe that the public needs to understand the systems, our systems' fragility in order to ensure democracy in America endures. What? Seriously? You don't need businesses to get together with the government to control everything to make sure that democracy endures. Well, what's the Benjamin Franklin quote? Democracy is two wolves and a lamb deciding what's for dinner, right? That's half of it, and the republic is the lamb with a shotgun or a gun or whatever. I don't know. The arguing over the results or whatever. I don't remember. The point is that really that's I want to speak to a Democrat person that you needed to control everything so that the person that we need to get into office gets into office. What happened to just people voting? What happened to that? People can't just vote. We can't just go, we want this person to be president. I pick that person. No, we can't do that. We have to control what information you get so that you make the correct choice. As in the choice we want you to make. So the point is, you don't get to vote for the best person to do the job or the person that will do great things for your country. It's, we control the choices. We will force you to pick who we want you to pick. And that's who you vote for president. So the machine wanted Biden, and they got Biden. So there you go. Yep. Okay, moving on. So, we're gonna jump. That happened. That came out, I think, last week sometime. I don't know. But, we're gonna jump to, we got the impeachment going on. That sham of, nonsense, which, is a waste of time. I heard today that they want to call witnesses, but I also read, I think, one little thing where they said they're going to strike down the call for witnesses. But I see comments where people are like, yeah, let's get witnesses in. Let's drag this out. Let's make the Republicans face what they did. Yes, let's drag this out because this is like holding up the Senate, right? So as long as we're doing this impeachment trial sham thing, then the Senate can't do anything but listen to this nonsense. They already voted before this thing even started on the constitutionality of the whole thing, and there wasn't there's already enough votes to throw the whole thing out. So we already know what's going to happen. We already know that he's going to be acquitted. Unless, of course, all those people that said this is unconstitutional decide, yeah, he should be impeached or whatever the term is, because I don't even know what we're supposed to call it, because he's already been impeached, the House impeached, and the Senate tries, but he's already out of office, so you don't throw him out of office once he's already out of office. And, I mean, even if they're gonna argue the constitutionality of the fact that he's not in office or whatever, the Chief Justice is supposed to be presiding over this, and he's not. What's his face? That the old Democrat guy who's both 3 times a witness, a judge, and part of the jury, and so that is your. And so then the Democrats got all upset because the Republicans were meeting with the lawyers. So they were like, the jury's meeting with the defendant lawyers. The whole thing is political theater and nonsense. And as much as I like theater, I would really just like to move on, with the fact that Biden's in there signing these, were like in the 50s, almost 60 executive orders up to this point. Now don't get me wrong. He did sign one. He signed one that stopped us from selling all these arms to Saudi Arabia and whatnot. And great. You know who we should be selling arms to? Nobody. We shouldn't be selling arms to anybody. We shouldn't be in wars anywhere. We need to stop doing this crap, okay? I don't understand why the whole system wants to perpetually just be in wars everywhere, and nobody is saying anything. They're just letting it happen. We're out there bombing and killing all these people, and we have soldiers that die in the process, and nobody cares. They fake, they act like they care, but then once their person is in office, then they're like, oh, it's okay. Just like the Republicans that stand around and complain about how, the deficit and the debt, and we're spending too much money, and then Trump gets in there and spends more than several Democratic presidents put together, and the Republicans are just like, oh, we love Trump. Trump is the greatest. He's bringing back... Really? Come on. Get your head out of your rear end, okay? Just because there's some person that you voted for or that you like in office doesn't mean that some of the stuff that they're doing is god awful, and maybe they shouldn't quite be there. So yeah, that's happening, and that's pretty much the only good executive, and there's probably something to it. I mean, maybe these stopped selling him because he wants to sell a bunch of China or some nonsense, because God knows we got to be buddy-buddy with China as much as they're rounding up all those Uyghur Muslims and putting them in concentration camps. And we're going to get to that in a second, too, because Disney decides that they're going to cancel this Gina Carano, whatever her name is, that's on the Mandalorian show for posting some nonsense to Twitter, even though her co-star, actually star of the Mandalorian, this Pedro guy, posted the same Nazi crap on his Twitter, and he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him posting that. So they cancel her. So not only is she fired from her job at Disney, well, that's, she can go get it. No, her agency fires her. She's basically dropped off the face of the acting map. The map of acting, if that's a thing that I just made up. So is that really, that's the culture that we're going to have now, where some people decide that you're no longer a person? So bye. And what's funny is the stuff she posted a thing on Twitter about, I mean, I guess you could stretch it to talk about cancel culture, and then they cancel her. And so, I don't, the whole canceling thing is nonsense. I'm listening to a podcast right now, with, that conspiracist Glenn Beck, is doing a podcast with this author, Edwin Black, who wrote this book called IBM and the Holocaust, which I've ordered. I'm going to read it because I have never read that book. So that will probably end up in the book review nonsense at one point. Like I said, before we're done today, we got to get to this book, the book review that I promised you guys from the last podcast. But as I was saying, yeah, so that whole the whole Gina Carano thing happened, and you know they're trying to cancel Tucker Carlson or whatever from Fox. Which you know they attacked his advertisers before, and he lost so many, and now they've attacked him again, and I guess to get the rest of them, or I don't know, they didn't have they didn't have very many left. So they're attacking him because he said this thing about how I gotta make sure I get my names right. So the about the George Floyd death, and how he didn't die from the you know, from some racist cops that were pushing down on his neck. He died because he had died from an overdose from fentanyl. Listen, yes, the autopsy said that George Floyd had enough fentanyl in his system to kill a horse, okay? But that doesn't mean that he died from that, okay? Just like if you're in a motorcycle accident and after you die, they find out that you have COVID in your system, that doesn't mean you died from COVID, okay? It's hard because they ended up getting two medical examiners to do the autopsies because I guess they didn't like what the first one said, but the medical examiner has in the thing that he died from asphyxiation or nonsense about the whatever. Anyway, George Floyd shouldn't have died from that cop. Okay, we'll just. But the problem is that these news people, which isn't news. It's not there. There's no more news. There's no news. Okay, it's all propaganda. Everything is spun, and everybody's got to tack their opinion on top of everything. So there's no more news. There's nothing about information. It's all about, we want you to think a certain way, and we're going to tell you these things this way so that you believe this, because we've got to protect our democracy, right? So there was that. Of course, they left out that he had all this fentanyl in. Of course, there was, you know, the delirious something or other, the thing that I'm not going to get into because that's irrelevant. So it's just like when Jacob Blake and the whole like armed not armed thing. Well, they're like, he wasn't armed, and the Republicans are like, yeah, he was. No, he wasn't armed. Racist, police brutality, and then Jacob Blake finally recovers. I mean, you know, he's paralyzed and everything, but he recovers from the incident. He's like, yeah, I had a knife. Well, after being told from your propaganda that he was unarmed, he comes out and admits he had a knife. Okay, what? Come on! What are you people doing? Oh my god! It's nonsense. It's all nonsense. It's almost like we're in North Korea light, okay? Where everything is controlled, and I'm gonna get into this book. Pretty much everybody is living in a different world than the people that live next to them. So the whole thing is a mess. Like I said, we also found out that during the January 6th insurrection, that the cop that was bludgeoned with the fire extinguisher wasn't bludgeoned. I mean, we don't know. I mean, there's no video of a fire extinguisher, and we're not sure if he was at the area where the fire extinguisher was, and the medical examiner says he didn't die from blunt force trauma, so there was a woman that got shot. She got shot, and it's Donald Trump's fault. Moving on. So, how to be an anti-racist. I was getting ready to say how to not be racist, but by Ibram X. Kendi. Here's a picture of him on the back. Can't quite see. I don't have my close-up cam today because of reasons, but yeah. So this might be not quite condensed, and I'll be rambling a bit. And also, my review of this book is not a good review of this book. That's my disclaimer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this back because a lot of times you don't know who the author is. So Ibram X. Kendi is a New York Times best-selling author and founding director of the Anti-Racist Research and Policy Center at American University. So it goes on to talk about, he's a professor of history and international relations and a frequent public speaker. Kendi is a columnist at The Atlantic and is the author of Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America, which won the National Book Award for Nonfiction, and the Black Campus Movement, which won the W.E.B. Du Bois Book Prize, and it says he lives in D.C. It doesn't matter where he lives, okay? So this book, basically, I want to say it's a good book. It's a good book to read, I would say. It's the New York Times bestseller, okay? And I'm gonna read a lot of other New York Times bestsellers, which are not going to be in the same vein as this, but we'll go over those. So in this book, the book is pretty abrasive for the first couple chapters for a lot of people to read. For some people, it'll be like, yeah, it's right. But for some people, it's going to be really like, I don't know. I want to keep reading. But yeah, you should at least read the book, see what the guy says, because there's a lot of people in the country that think like this. You should know how they think. And because if you don't, then you don't believe the things that these people believe, then you don't know how to combat that. But, as much as I like this book, I have to disagree with this author for several reasons. But I'm going to read some things from the book, and I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with it. But I'm going to read you a couple things, and I don't want you to take it as like the Bible, where you're like, oh, you gotta read the one before and the one after you. It's taken out of context. This isn't taking out of context, okay? So it's a really quick read. The book itself, the actual book itself, is only 240 pages maybe, and then there's a great big stack in the back of notes. Because this is like a massive term paper, which I've written several term papers, and I guess if I packed them all together, they'd be about as big as this book. But unlike my term papers, this doesn't really cite where his certain things from his bibliographies come from. But yeah, they're all there, so everything that's not his opinion or his life experience is noted back here. So, there's ton. He makes reference to not thousands, but I would say almost maybe 100 books, different publications, from things that he's read and things that people have said and nonsense, that sort of thing. So yeah. So the point is that the country. And, I mean, really, probably a good portion of the Western world is systematically racist. And the problem is that you're a racist, and I'm a racist, and most people are racist, and they don't know they're racist. And so we got to point out and tell you why you're a racist, so that you understand you're a racist, and that if you don't think you're a racist, you're number one racist. So you need to be not racist. You need to be anti-racist. Because there's only racists and well, actually, there isn't racist. There's people who are racist, and there's people who are anti-racist, and there's no middle people. You're one or the other. And pretty much, if you're not actively engaging in an activity to battle racism, then you're racist. Or you're participating in racist activities, I guess I should say. So, what I really want to I want to make one side comment here, which has nothing to do with the context of this book or anything, but he uses the term Latinx or Latinx, depending on who you are, and I, who has no Latin lineage in my family history, think that word is stupid. So, but that's aside. We're going to move on. I mean, that probably disqualifies my whole opinion on this book, but we're going to move on anyway. So, okay, so here we go. I don't know if I want to read this whole thing or not. So, what's the... I'm reading from the book. So what's the problem with being, quote, not racist? It is a claim that signifies neutrality. Quote, I am not a racist, but neither am I aggressively against racism, end quote. But there is no neutrality in the racism struggle. So, if you're not against racism, then you're being racist. Okay. I'm gonna get to racism here in a minute. So what's the difference? One endorses the idea of a racial hierarchy as a racist or a racial equality as an anti-racist. One either believes problems are rooted in groups of people as a racist or locates the roots of problems in power and policies as an anti-racist. Aha! So, at being an anti-racist, you know that people aren't racists. It's policies and ideas, right? I skipped over it. Yeah. Roots of yeah, exactly what I just said. One either allows racial inequities to persevere as a racist or confronts racial inequities as an anti-racist. Yeah, see? You only get two choices. Like, there's only Republicans and Democrats. That's it. We know that extremes are the way. There's no in-between safe space of, quote, not racist. The claim of not racist or neutrality is a mask for racism. There you go. So, it's racist to be not racist. This may seem harsh, okay, but it's important at the outset that we apply one of the core principles. This is one of the core principles. I think it's the most important core of principle, the important core principle of anti-racism, which is to return the word racist itself back to its proper usage, because we haven't been using that word correctly. Okay, so racist is not, and he quotes Richard Spencer, which he agrees with this person in this certain case, that racist is not a pejorative word. racist is not a bad word because, pejorative has a lot of syllables in it, and there's a lot of dumb people out there that don't understand big words. So I dumbed it down a little bit for you. So he's saying he doesn't believe that racism is a bad word. I mean, I guess if you're following the George Carlin model, there aren't any bad words. Just bad intentions. He even says that it's not even the equivalent of a slur. So if some white guy walks up to a black guy and says the N-word to him, then the black guy calling him a racist is, it's not the same. The black guy still has to call him a bad word to be equal, right? It is descriptive. And the only way to undo racism is to consistently identify and describe it, and then dismantle it. Well, that's true. I agree with that. The attempt to turn this usefully descriptive term into an almost unusable slur is, of course, designed to do the opposite, to freeze us into inaction. So, the point that Ibram X. Kendi is making here is that when you're out doing your daily life and somebody says you're a racist, or that's racist, or this is racism, or any other version of that term, the point isn't for you to go, I don't want to be called that, because it doesn't matter. Racism isn't a bad term. It's okay to be racist because it's not bad. What's the point of going against racism if racism isn't bad? I mean, are there not people profiting off this idea of racism? Is that good? I mean, of course you would say no, because it's not you, or it's not the people that you think that should. I want to hit. I mean, we're running really short on time, but I want to hit. I want to hit one more thing. This is important part in his book. Okay, so here's this other chapter, or not paragraph at the end of this chapter. The good news is that racists and anti-racists are not fixed identities. We can be racist one minute and then anti-racist the next. What we say about race, what we do about race in each moment determines what, not who, we are. Okay? Then he goes on to say, I used to be racist most of the time. I am changing. I am no longer identifying with racist by claiming to be not racist. I am no longer speaking through the mask of racial neutrality. I am no longer manipulated by racist ideas to see racial groups as problems. I no longer believe a black person cannot be racist, and I'm no longer policing every action around an imagined white or black judge trying to convince white people of my equal humanity, trying to convince black people I am representing the race well. I mean, he goes on, and I say that you should read on. And there's one other part I wanted to hit. All right. And this is one of the parts that I hear about the book a lot. A lot of people use this to claim that the book and the whole idea of anti-racism is a bunch of hooey. I don't think the whole idea is a bunch of hooey. I really don't. I think he makes a lot of good points in here. But overall, not quite, because we're still talking about policies like we shouldn't let Asian people into Harvard because we already have so many Asian people. So even though that we have these other Asian people that are better than the Latinx, or white or black people, we need more of those people into our... No. If Asian people are testing better, if they're smarter, if they are going to work, if they're going to take what they learn in this school on, no, those people should be going to the school. But so yeah, you get stuff like you get things in here like, but if racial discrimination... So since the 1960s, racist power has commandeered the term racial discrimination, transforming the act of discriminating on the basis of race into an inherently racist act. But if racial discrimination is defined as treating, considering, or making a distinction in favor or against an individual based on that person's race, then racial discrimination is not inherently racist. Yeah, it is. If you're making decisions based upon the race of somebody only, then yeah, it's racist. That's the definition of racist. Just because you change the definition of racist in your book doesn't mean the actual term of racist. I mean, that's the definition that we use. So yeah. So the point is that in being anti-racist, you're not quite hitting your mark, Ibram, okay? You need to work a little bit harder to not continue to be racist. And then, again, further down, he says the only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination, and the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. So I guess the point is we're never going to get away from discrimination as written by Ibram X. Kendi. All right, so that's the podcast. That's the book. Go out, buy it, read it, understand it, because if you don't, you won't be able to combat these bad ideas like ones written in here. Not to say that there isn't good ideas. This person grew up in a completely... This man is like 4 years older than me. We grew up the same time period in the same general area. He grew up in New York and in Virginia, because his family moved around. He's a middle class black family growing up in the 80s and 90s. And this person grew up in a completely different world than I did. Completely different. And we were probably closer together than we're talking like distance than, the country of, France? But when you look at Europe, you got a bunch of different countries, and the cultures are all different, and the whole small of Europe is what, half of the U.S. or something? Maybe I'm thinking about that not quite right. Maybe Europe is the same size as the U.S., but the point is that you're trying to make a culture the size of Europe the same. You're trying to make all these people, you're trying to make 300-something million people have the same culture and ideas, and it's not going to work that way. I do believe that racism is a problem, and a lot of people have a problem with it, and I think he makes a lot of good points in this book. So I say, go out, read this book, take the good things with the bad things, and move forward. All right, so that's the podcast. We got another video coming up this weekend, and so thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Tune in next time, and shout out to Chelsea. All right, thanks guys.